Welcome to the Antidev podcast. Episode 2, where we talk about our secret sauces. I'm Aaron Tofani and joined by Joseph Gallagher, and we are the only two people in Antisocial Games.
That's right.
This is the much delayed episode of episode 2 due to drunkenness and laryngitis.
Yeah, we had a loss in the family. We had sickness, and then a little spout of drinking a little too much during an episode. Didn't turn out quite as good as we thought it should. So
that is a bad me. Bad me moment. This episode, we're going to talk about kind of the general, secret sauce that goes into making our game. What's going to make it kind of special to itself. Mechanics, we'll talk a little bit about what we're talking or what we're working with as far as what you'll actually be interacting with in the game. But that's pretty much goes to it there. And also a little bit about what we're working on currently and what we will be working on in the coming weeks.
Yep.
So as far as that, the game, as I've explained, is The Pines. We have been working on it and calling it a psychological horror comedy adventure. You see, you got to get that horror comedy together, good stuff like Evil Dead or anywhere in the genre of the morose sort of dark comedy. It's going to be some of that, reference humor, and other things in the game. Along with a lot of adventure elements, or if you ever played an escape game on a phone, it's going to be like a, super next-gen version of an escape game.
But not a point-and-click escape game, though, right?
Yeah, this is a first-person. I mean, it's kind of like shooters are as far as the first person. And it will be going through. And the way we're working mechanics, I don't generally like it when there's a game and it feels like a game and it's like, oh, I got to move this puzzle around and that opens a door. That doesn't make any sense to me. And from my background of playing games like Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop sort of things, if there's a door and it's locked and you have a crowbar, you can probably open that door. If there's a door and you find a key, you can open that door. If there's a door that's barred, there's a window, then maybe you can break the window, get through that way. But it will set you up with objectives in the game and each of the levels, which we're working with. I think we're looking at about 7 levels currently.
Yep.
And each one of those is going to have minor challenge, go through sort of gates. There will be gates involved. And then each one's going to have a general did you accomplish that goal or not accomplish goal?
Or how did you accomplish the goal, too?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Because
you were saying earlier, I'm going to get off topic just a little bit. One thing that drives me nuts are linear objectives in a game. You have to, like you said, the puzzle, you have to solve it this way for you to complete it. And that's like saying, well, you got a door, you got a window, a couple windows to a house and a back door. Why can't a crowbar or sledgehammer go through it? Why does it have to be a key? And exactly. And I like that. Because some people's mindsets are a little different. Like we were talking, I think last episode, we come from very opposite gaming backgrounds on what we like. And you have definitely, what you like in the game have broadened my likes of games, because you had me play Layers of Fear recently. Never played a game really like that. And I really liked it. It was a really good game. So...
Yeah, Layers of Fear is a great one there. I love what they did, especially using Unity, which I've tried to use myself, and they made it look pretty.
Oh yeah, it's a gorgeous game.
But it's definitely interesting, and you were telling me about this. It was like you've not really played games where you didn't have a specific strong objective, and you're just kind of wandering around.
Yeah, I had no objective in this game. I'm sorry, I can't talk. But I know, like, when I went into a room and I was walking around doors and stuff, it wasn't so much about how do I get out of here. It's like, what can I read? What can I find out? Because it made me want to find out more about what's going on. And that's like, I like platformer games and Mario games. Well, everything is thrown in your face right at the beginning of what's going on, because at the end you're going to fight Bowser and then the damn game's over. And
I like to dig deep into the psychologicalness of Bowser. I mean, is the princess actually just, Bowser's girlfriend and Mario is the giant douchebag? If you look up those theories on YouTube, they get pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what you will probably be coming away from this game as once it's released, once you play through it, You play it, you sit at the ending, one of the, going for about 10 different endings, all in the works. Maybe it's going to be 5, maybe it'll be 10, but there's definitely going to be multiple endings. And I want people to be like, what the fuck just happened?
Mm-hmm.
At least for some of them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's coming along good. Do you want to talk about a little bit? I know this wasn't in the show notes. You want to talk a little bit about what you did this week in the game, what you were working on? Because I know people are kind of interested in hearing about what we've been working on or what specifics of the game we're working on. Because different from then some games is we don't have a list laid out of, we probably should. It'd probably make the game go by a lot better.
Well, it actually goes into what I've been working on. However, have been sick, haven't got a whole lot done. But my next goal of completing on the game is making essentially a PDF or a text document, lining out all of the maps from overhead to a certain degree, what happens in each room. This is also good for communication between me and Joe here.
Yes.
But if you play Dungeons and Dragons, if you've ever seen one of those boxed adventures, or, it's not really a box, it's more of a booked adventure. They have everything laid out, everything that happens in each room for the dungeon master to then tell to the party. This will be the same thing. It's like that, internal guide to the game before the game is even made. I mean, it's the project manuscript.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm just going to be getting it down to each level, what the goals and objectives overall are, and then all of the gates as far as you can't get through this until you get to that. So that's the next goal, and I think this will help us out in communication and getting everything done, is really just getting all the organization done on it.
Yeah.
So, Joe, what have you been working on?
I've been fighting with the Spline tool, or the Spline Editor in the game. I've
you got to watch out for Spline tools. They cheap shot you in the nuts.
Yeah, right in the dick. But it's a fantastic tool if it's done right, And there was some assets that I was using in it, and we're working on a level that is literally kind of a dream sequence. My inspiration from it was the first Max Payne, and when he gets doped up on, I think he gets doped up on the drugs. I haven't played that game in a long time, but you're walking on what are veins of blood, it seems like, in this just black openness void that you're in. And I'm taking something similar to that. I mean, it's a black void, but there's walkways, there's hills, there's ups and downs, and just shit going on, and you're going through the protagonist's head, and you're going kind of back through time a little bit. And so I ran into some issues with the assets that we had weren't working with the tool like they were, which is why I called you, and you sat on the phone with me for over an hour explaining to me why it was like that and how I needed to fix it. And we had a workaround with it. But it kind of upset me that we paid money for these assets and they don't work as they're supposed to with the game. But not everything can be
to some, user. It's kind of like making my own assets for the game and zeroing out the X and Y accesses and getting everything into where it's a full Unreal asset, to where it's easiest to use. This is a giant bitch on doors. I don't know if anyone's trying to create one in Maya or Blender or something like that. But if you try to make a door twist and the access is not set up as far as where the rotation point is, then you have a door that's more like almost like a rotating door or something.
Yeah, like at an airport.
It spins right from the middle. Not going to be helpful.
I remember when I first started screwing with some doors, we had some that were like that. And I opened it up, and I kept trying to. This is like one of the first few times I've ever opened up the Unreal Engine, and I remember it kept rotating in the center. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this door? I could get it to open, but it was flipping around. It looked like a door at an airport or a shopping mall or something, like a spinning door.
Yeah, my first blueprint creation of a door, it's kind of interesting. It opened correctly, and then it would reopen, so it was kind of like a door's walking down the deal. So it's it opens from this side, and it'll just keep on going. Like each time you walked into the trigger box for it.
Yeah, the door would walk down the hallway.
Which could be interesting, Lots of the times, and you see this with behind the scenes of movies and TV shows, or if you've ever worked construction or something like that, everything is not normally as easy as you put up this wall, you put up this wall.
Oh yeah.
So you start improvising and jerry-rigging things and making it, instead of, getting the exact right thing, you slam that square peg into that round hole until it fits.
Oh yeah, beat the shit out of it.
And occasionally you find just new interesting ideas while doing that.
Well,
and that's walking down the hall. That may be in the game.
See, that's one thing that I wasn't grasping early on with never working with the game engine ever before, other than playing games on it. Was I always thought that since it was software or it was a pre-set up program, that everything had a specific way to be done. And then I started realizing, you gotta mess with it a little bit. You gotta compromise and change things and mess with them a little bit. There's multiple ways of solving one task.
Well, you have to talk to it sweetly, and you have to compliment it, and then you have to
rub it.
Kick it right in the teeth.
No, you have to rub it gently.
And then kick it in the teeth. Like a donkey punch right to the back of the head. Moving on to the next section of our podcast here. I'm going to ask you some, questions. Just give me a first quick one answer for each question.
One word?
One word. You can elaborate if you'd like.
Okay.
But inspiration for the game, what you would like to see in the game, and I'll answer the questions myself after going through this here. But if there was one essence or something you could put into it, what in film would you inspire? What movie would you like to see something like that in our game?
Oh my goodness. I would like some 80s ambiance, weirdness, old 80s synth music to go in with it. I'm a big fan of some of the 80s movies, Goonies and stuff like that. But we talked about this during our last non-recorded episode we talked about Stranger Things and the 80s music before and after that show. I just absolutely love it. And it just sets this really...
For the Third Kind and even Jaws had a nice, great 70s ambiance of, each shot was just gorgeous. There was a lot of smoky shots. And or even something like Blade Runner. I do enjoy that era, and there's going to be a lot of that in the game for sure.
Yeah, but movie or film related, I would like to have an 80s touch to it. And I don't mean just straight up Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or something like that. I mean, I'm not talking film quality. I'm talking about atmosphere, the music, the look of everything,
Spielbergian or Cronenberg, like The Fly. The Fly is also a great example of weird 80s-ness.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely like, The Fly or Evil Dead is a nice classic that's horrifying, bloody, cheap B-movie-esque, but, also just funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sort of thing that the 80s actually, kept and delivered very well, was somehow making, any situation funny.
Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about that too, was making some parts of it to where they just scare the shit out of you. I mean, that's obviously it's a horror game, but we also won points of it to where the scariness is so fucking cheesy that all you can do is laugh about it. and there's movies that have been like that, that's like I was talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, the Freddy Krueger movies.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start hearing him singing his song, 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 3, 4, no, better lock the door. 1, 2, Freddy's coming
for you.
There you go,
3,
wrong song.
4, better lock your door. Yeah.
But when you hear him humming that in one of the songs, you start thinking about the lyrics and you just laugh. Or some of the scenes are so what was this? It was Return of the Living Dead. I don't think it was Night of the Living Dead. It was Return of the Living Dead. I watched this when I was a little kid. And they're in this morgue, and one of the bodies comes back to life, and the guy stabs.
Return is classic and awesome, yeah.
Okay, maybe it's Night of the Living Dead then. It's the remake, one of the more modern ones of it from the 80s. And this body comes to life in the morgue, and the guy stabs it in the head with a screwdriver. And the body looks at the guy and he goes, "Get that goddamn screwdriver out of my head."
Yeah, that's
and
Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead. There you go.
Romero made Night, Dawn, and Day.
Yeah.
Those are all serious and, kind of similar to the Walking Dead television show and comics these days.
Yeah.
And Return of the Living Dead, they have a 1 and 2, and those are definitely horror, but they're also hugely comedy.
Yeah,
I grew up on that. I watched that since I was like 5. My dad loved that gory, cheesy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's like if you've ever seen Critters about the little balls. They'll make you, if you're, when I was a kid watching,
Critters
I
was
would
also one of the
not
classics
put my
of that.
feet on the ground. I remember watching that shit. But there was a lot of comedy involved in it, kind of like Gremlins. Gremlins is supposed to be a scary movie, but it's got a lot of comedy in it, when they go in the bar and the gremlins are spinning around from the ceiling fan and fly off and hit the window and shit and break stuff. It's just funny, and they're all drunk and shit. We want stuff
and
like
the one neighbor guy that was a war vet and talking about the goddamn commies and stuff. Classic 80s goodness. There's like one particular part in Evil Dead 2 I'd like to bring up there, and Bruce Campbell is fighting his own hand and finally wrestles his own hand to the ground. And then, just covered in blood, takes a chainsaw and chops off his own hand while saying, "Who's laughing now?" Yes, chopping off his own hand, blood splattering all over his face.
Yeah,
just one of the most bloody scenes in movies, but just comes off as funny.
yeah. It's I want that, and that goes back to the question. I want that cheesiness in the game, but I don't want the serious and scary parts to be cheesy. I just want the comedy to be cheesy, not so much slapstick, but we'll get there.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Same question: television. Just name one TV show you'd like something to be in. You already mentioned Stranger Things.
Shit.
But give me a weird one. Think outside the game even itself and just something you want the essence to be. Give me that zeitgeist of it.
Well, I'm a big Futurama fan. Maybe
that's a good one.
And I like that their comedy. You have to think about it sometimes. It's not so stupid comedy that just everybody gets it. Like they're not trying to appeal to the masses. They're trying to either you get the joke or you don't. And I would like to have some of that in the game. Like either you get it or you don't. And if you don't get this one, you may get this one, and the person that got that part won't get the other one. A
lot of secret hidden jokes and things like that.
Yeah, we're going to spread everything out for a lot of people, but we're not going to dumb it down so bad that it's just ridiculous. Yeah. So
you get it, you don't, but
and maybe we can have Krampus in the game, so he'll come and punish all the fucking kids for being horrible. So
Krampus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was always fond of Bender though, Futurama. That was the last episode where I was on a bender.
Hey, we're still working on having a crab walk around the lake on one of the levels, and he runs around and sounds like Zoidberg. So we'll get there. So
indeed.
Yeah, Aaron, by the way, will you go ahead and model me a crab? That'd be fantastic. Have it done by tomorrow.
Well, modeling not so hard, but the skinning and animating, that may be a problem.
Yeah.
But we'd like to look into free assets all over the place, including like things Turbo Squid wise, just FYI, for anyone that's also looking to make a game.
Yep.
Television for myself, Mr. Robot's my new crack.
Yeah. I've started watching it. Finally started watching it. I like it. It's a good show. Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely mind fucking, and that's kind of what I want in there. It's where you maybe start to think you know what's going on, and then you're thrown for a loop. But not in the lame M. Night Shyamalan way, where it's just all based on the twist.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing I think is funny is we are very different on what we like in games and movies and stuff. But in the end of it, we end up, if you suggest a movie to me or a show, I end up loving it. Same, I'll suggest something to you and you end up liking it. But we never find ourselves saying, oh, yeah, we watched the same movie or the same show.
Yeah.
It's
probably the yin-yang that makes up the game design that we have going.
Yeah, and I have to apologize for the dogs barking outside. I don't know what the fuck is going on out there, but
it's probably the apocalypse.
Yeah, it's all good. Maybe they're eating kids that try to get in my yard. So hopefully not.
Or the meth heads,
The meth heads. That's a whole nother episode. Yeah.
Now, on third one, and then we'll move on from this here. Mm-hmm. But give me one game idea that you'd like to, jam into it. Because I've said this before, but, Tarantino is a huge influence to me. What he does is more of what a DJ remixes albums or hip-hop artists like steal things. And he said, there is no inspired by. Everything he does is stealing. What would you like to steal and throw in there if you could steal something from another game?
Well, I don't know. Okay. my favorite thing in a game is to see something I've never seen before. And when you play like a Mario game, you've seen that shit all the time. It doesn't matter how new the level looks, you've seen that shit before. When you play a game like from an indie developer, a lot of it's new, but you feel like you've seen it before. Nothing brings that out. And we were talking a while back about No Man's Sky, and the game has its issues and the overhype and all that bullshit. We won't get into details on that. But one thing I did like about the game is I felt like I was seeing stuff that I've never seen before, and it brought out the kid in me of exploration and wanting to be a professional explorer when I grew up, which didn't happen, or spelunker or whatever. But and the only other game that's ever done that to me since then was World of Warcraft, and I remember the first time I played right after launch on that game, and I remember finding a chest out in the middle of nowhere, and I thought, oh my God, I'm the only one that's ever found this. I found a secret. Well, I didn't realize at the time they respawned. I thought every time I got a mining node of copper that I was the only one to get that, and no one else could get that. I didn't realize it respawned like every so many minutes. But, and going to areas I've never seen before, and I wanted to explore, and I want that aspect in our game. I know our game's going to be somewhat linear, but...
Actually, to address that real quick, this also goes into my own game pick that I would talk about here. There will be kind of a hub world. That's kind of level 1.
Yeah.
You'll get in there, you'll explore. There'll be numerous, locked doors, open doors, things like that. But each one of these is going to kind of go into the protagonist's past and be a different part of its life, or just something new and strange.
Yeah, you're not going to point and click your level in this game. You're going to walk through doors and go through a building to get to where you need to go.
But it's not going to be, handheld. This is level 1, and now you go into your past. Maybe you chose the 3rd door instead of the 4th door. So on and so forth. But this is actually, I'm going to bring up a series here, the Quest for Glory series from Sierra. Related to King's Quest, Space Quest. They made all those games. Leisure Suit Larry.
Oh my God.
80s computer games that were just, in terms of writing and options, were well ahead of their time. But it was interesting. In each one, much like we were talking about before, let's say in Quest for Glory, you're a thief. You can climb over this wall. And if you're a fighter, you bash down the door, or if you're a magic user, you can levitate over it. Not only did it not stop you from doing all those things, you could be a fighter that also uses magic and levitates over it. You could be a fighter that can also climb real well. It's not limiting. It's giving you options. It's giving you a general concept of this is a way that you could go with it. And that'll be the case. But into the next part of the non-linearity here. The first game was set in kind of a snowy area, and the second game was in the desert, and the third game was in the jungle, and the fourth game was in a Transylvania sort of area. I always loved that. It was you'd visit these new areas. We're working on a snow level right now. And the snow level, as you've seen in the trailer, that's just one of them. There's a club level, which is this disco crazy area, which I've actually never seen in a game before. Also, there's a short clip of that. It's definitely in its beginnings and not fully fleshed out, nor as large as it will be at the end. But there's going to be a lot of variety to where you are, and things that you wouldn't think that you would see in a horror game.
Yeah.
Like real clean areas or snowy areas. Normally people think of, dark, dank asylum, sewers, dirty disgustingness. There will be that. But there will also be just areas that are weird, and you'll be like, well, this is strange.
Well, that's something we talked about too, is I really like the idea of a level that is not supposed to be scary at all, and just making it all kinds of fucked up, and making it scary, not from props and stuff, but from the story, the narrative, the music, just the atmosphere. Well, I guess that props would be atmosphere, but that's like these carnivals. They're supposed to be a happy place, and you see them in games where they're kind of creepy and stuff. And I mean, carnivals are kind of creepy, actually.
Yeah, clowns, man. Stephen King.
Yeah, but all you got to do is make it look kind of grungy.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, like we were talking. What was it, like a drive-in theater, a movie theater?
That's
and you talked about
one of the levels. That's like I'll actually go over this for people that to be in on the creation, because we'd like, interactivity. And if you have any ideas for levels, by all means, comment, write us.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let us know for sure.
But there's definitely going to be a drive-in. There'll definitely be a house you grew up in. There's definitely going to be a snow level. There's also going to be the club. So, I mean, that's 4 for sure. And also the hub is that dirty asylum that you may be used to. But there'll be some, tricks and weird things about it.
Well, that's like we've got I love open world games, and we've got sorry, my phone keeps going off. But we've got
site as well.
Well, we've got the city level, and it consists of a downtown metropolitan area, and it's got like the little town square area. It's more modern than it is an old small town. It's a bigger town, and then there's a house strategically placed in the middle of it, and it goes down to some, I won't tell you really what's there unless we've already talked about it. I don't think we have, but there's some underground stuff going on there.
Let's be like E3 this year. It's got verticality.
Yeah. Oh, God.
We've got so much more verticality and new experiences.
Yeah. But we've got, we got levels that city is not remotely scary at all, other than it's dark, right? But, if you go downtown at night by your, with you and a couple friends, you go walking around downtown wherever, say downtown Dallas or whatever, it's not scary. I mean, unless you've never been there before and you're not used to it, it's not real scary. And it shouldn't be scary. But with atmosphere, we can make that very scary. We can change the music, change something, and we don't have to grunge up the assets. We don't have to put, buildings that are collapsing and all that. And there's not. And this looks like a fully functioning little downtown area with big buildings, Yeah,
for sure. I mean, my sense of horror, and this goes into the fact that as far as horror goes, movie-wise and things like that, I like your silly slapstick horror. I like the long-term horror, and that's kind of the ones where it is those cleaner places that look like it could just be a home or something like that. You go and you go back and you go to bed for the night, and then you're just like thinking about these things, and it's as if this could be happening right now.
Yeah. Well, we had me and my wife were walking downtown Oklahoma City, and
all 2 blocks of it.
Yeah, well, it's pretty good size. We were over by what they call Bricktown, which is like Austin's Riverwalk area now, but it's Oklahoma City has a fairly nice downtown area, and we were walking around at night, and there was a cupcake place, and we went over there and got a cupcake and some coffee, and this was probably at 9:00 at night, and we parked in an underground parking area under one of the hotels. And then I saw a door. I've been watching these urban exploring YouTube shows and all this shit, so I thought I was going to find some like secret Illuminati shit underground Oklahoma City or something. And we found the pink hallway, the pink underground area. If you guys are not from Oklahoma, go Google under Oklahoma City's pink underground. You understand what I'm talking about. It's like the Pepto-Bismol hell hallway. We came across it. It was kind of neat. And then we walked through another door, and we ended up under this building, went through another underground car parking lot that was circular shaped. It was kind of weird. Went through another door, and we were inside a hotel that had no one in it. It was not old. It had been closed down, I think, since the late 90s. And it was just fucking scary. I mean, it wasn't lit up real well, but there was some lighting in there. And it wasn't grungy. It wasn't moldy smelling. It wasn't old smelling or anything like that. It was just creepy as shit.
See, those are things that like scratch the back of your mind in the same way of like the uncanny valley. And you're like something that should be populated, like a hotel or a street or something like that, and there's just no one there. And it's just something that doesn't seem quite right. Like those robots that are super real that just seem creepy as fuck.
I've got photos of it, and if I can ever find them, they're from, God, this was probably 7 years ago. I'll find those photos, and I'll post them on our Facebook or Twitter account. That way you guys can understand what I'm talking about. In the photos, it looks just like a big open area hotel inside where there's level upon level. It's probably 10 stories tall, balconies where there would be rooms ever. A typical downtown indoor hotel, But it scared the fuck out of me, and me and my wife were like, all right, let's get the fuck out of here. And we did. And we actually ended up going up the stairs and out the front door. And we ended up about 4 blocks from where we initially had parked at. But it was fun. But it was just weird. And what I'm saying is, it wasn't supposed to be creepy. It's just the timing, the what it should have been and wasn't, was creepy. And I let my head get to me on it. But it was fun.
Actually, interestingly enough, like I based the asylum, the hospital area in the game off this YouTube video I watched on Smash TV Canada. It's a lost and abandoned thing, and they did that urban exploration like you're talking about. Mm-hmm. It's an old asylum in Canada. And these guys went there in the day, and they're like creeping through, and it's also all frozen and dripping, so it's like sounds are coming from all sorts of places. And those asylums, man, it's just creepy-ass places anyway. I can see why they are a trope of horror. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they freak themselves out to the point of just running off by the end of the thing. But if you want to check that out, that's kind of similar to the asylum that we got going in the game.
Yeah. See, I like his name's... Oh, he goes by Adam the Woo. It's a weird name. But he's like this probably mid to late 30s, probably late 30s, old punk rocker guy. Clean cut, but he wears a bunch of punk rock and rock band shirts and hats. And he just goes to a bunch of abandoned places, either from, he travels around a lot now. He lives in a van, not down by the river though, but he lives in a van, and he goes.
I saw that guy actually going to, it was like his vacation, and he was going to where they filmed Evil Dead.
Yeah, he actually he does a lot of movie sets too, but he actually got kicked out of Disney World or Disneyland, one or the other, like permanently banned from there, because he was caught going to one of their abandoned areas on the park. Now, he paid to get in. He has a yearly pass, I guess, to these places. He goes all the time. But he actually got booted off. And then whenever Disney found out that he has this YouTube channel that's fairly popular, it's not massive. I haven't watched him in 6-7 months. I don't know what he's grown to now. When I was watching him, he had maybe 1,000 followers, But he started to get more popular and actually unbanned him since they knew what he was doing, because a lot of his videos were just him going to Disneyland and showing the food and the people and shit like that and the rides. But when he goes to these abandoned places,
smarter than Nintendo about stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, he goes by himself most of the time, and it's just weird shit. Things that wouldn't normally be scary are scary. Like one of them was a horse racing track. Him getting ran off by security, but that's like going to
it's a small world is scary as fuck.
Yeah, well, going to that would scare the fuck.
It's a small world after all.
Yeah,
that shit's scary.
That would scare the hell out of me. But it's just the watching his videos. Some of them they freak me out, and there's no reason for it at all. There's no going to a morgue or anything like that. Things that should be scary. He turns like going to an old, horse racing track scary. There's nothing scary about horses, or horse races or casinos.
Like the aura about it. I grew up right next to a cemetery and played in there, and it was like a fun place for me to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't do that. I tried to stay. When I was in high school, we would hang out at the cemetery because, if we were out past curfew, the cops would not fuck with us in there.
Yeah, this was me at 5 or 6 years old. It may explain my, demented behavior, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but all right. Well, I think we're good on that, man.
Yeah. And if you have any ideas on any of this, or if you have a YouTube channel that plays games, I mean, by all means, we'll come out with stuff. We'll post trailers. We'll be glad to give you information as well as codes when we come out.
Yeah.
Planning on hopefully coming out on Steam, so they give out codes and we'll get them to you.
Yeah, it's one thing we talked about early on is being very active with the YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Not so much Facebook because I know you hate them, but being very active with
somebody's real dedicated to using Facebook to contact us. But
yeah. See, all.
So like, Joe, what's our contact information?
We got our Facebook page is facebook.com/antisocialgames. We've got Twitter account at antisocialdev, DEV is our Twitter. Get on there. The YouTube channel is Antisocial Games, 2 words. If you've got questions for us, go ahead and go on. You can hit us up on Twitter, ask questions on there. You can hit us up on Facebook or on YouTube in the comments. You, Aaron, are on YouTube a lot more than I am.
YouTube is basically if you want to contact me. It goes to my email. I check it daily. I'll be glad to interact.
Yeah, but that's our main things right now. If you guys have just questions, if you have Let's Play channels or just gaming channels or whatever channels, how you can build cars, as far as I give a shit. You know, we'll talk about you guys if it intertwines with us at all or whatever. But we want to answer some live questions on here, what you guys are asking and all that, and feel free to submit questions.
Maybe one of these episodes we'll do a live one if we can get an audience enough to want to sit around and ask questions for a few minutes.
Oh, definitely, most definitely. But that's about it. Hit us up on there. We're trying to build a group or a following right now. This is still really early on, and
we'll build the game's cult community.
Cult community. That's don't drink the Kool-Aid for goddamn sure. So
by all means, have the Kool-Aid.
Drink the Kool-Aid. Don't listen
to the Pines Kool-Aid or antisocial Kool-Aid.
Pine Kool-Aid would be fucking gross.
Brought to you by Pine Kool-Aid.
God.
Now with new cedar scent.
Yeah, like pine sol Kool-Aid.
That's our episode for this week. We are going to be trying to do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So far, we're failures, so we'll get them up when we get them up. But by all means, check back and let us know. We're Antisocial Games. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.